Hi, guys. This is Christine with Dogs for Life Training and Wellness. And today I want to talk about if a dog gets loose. So, I recently had this experience, and I thought to myself, this probably happens. I know it's happened to me a couple of times. I'm sure it's happened to other people. And in my story, I'm going to share with you, um, I think you can kind of relate to the things that we do if a dog gets loose and the things that we should do versus the things that we shouldn't do. I know that sounds a little crazy. Anyways, so the other day, I was driving down a street that was four lanes, two on this side, two going in the opposite direction. And as I was driving, there was this little chihuahua that was in the middle of the lanes that were on my side of the street. And so what I did was pulled my car to the middle of both lanes so nobody could pass as I pulled to a stop. And so the dog was just standing there. It was very relaxed. It was just sniffing around. There were cars coming on the other way, but I think they seen me stopped in the middle of the road. And so they slowed down. Somebody stopped on the other side. I got out of my car and went to the front of the car, which I then kind of bent down and was calling the dog to me. And he's all wiggly. He was like, "Oh, yeah, hi, how are you? I'm coming over." And he started walking towards me until he heard his dad in the background yelling at him. And I can't remember the dog's name, but he was like, come here right now. No, you come here right now. And instantaneously, as that happened, the dog became very alert and was like in a panic, like something bad was about to happen, and started spinning in circles. And as the dad approached, the dog was running in the opposite direction. And so I think that this is a common behavior that humans have when their dog is loose and we become scared, basically, and or we're trying to get our dogs back. And so in this case, obviously, the dog, I feel, would have walked right into my arms and let me pick him up until he got scared because he heard his dad was in such a panic. So I was able to kind of guide the dog towards his dad, and his dad was running down the driveway and the dog was very confused but did eventually go to his dad, who whooshed him up into his arms, and I got back in my car. But it made me start thinking about, you know when your dog gets loose out of your yard. Maybe they are door dashers and they run out of the house when the door opens. And so I wanted to talk today about what are you supposed to do? And so I think that there are a lot of common mistakes that we make. And so that's an example of one of them. Getting angry at your dog or yelling at your dog, and I feel that the gentleman was probably yelling more out of panic as opposed to like being angry at the dog. And so it's really important that we remember when your dog is out loose that your dog is not going to respond in favor of running to you when you're yelling at them. So what we want to do is try to remain calm. The key to getting your dog back to you is something that I call SAR. You need to stop chasing your dog. That is so hard to do. When your dog runs out and is tearing down the block, and or run into the neighbors or whatever, is to stop chasing your dog, and it feels very unnatural. The second thing you have to do is get your dog's attention. Whether you whistle or whether you do a whoop, 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 just something that makes your dog's head turn back to you for that moment. And in that instant, you need to do the final part, which is run the opposite direction, not towards your dog, actually run away from your dog. And when your dog sees you running the other way, there is a high probability that they're going to turn around and start chasing you. And so, as your dog is chasing you, the next thing that I think people will do is try to pick up your dog, but you can't do it too soon. And what I mean by that is once the dog is chasing you and they catch up, they usually will bypass you, in which you need to turn around the opposite direction again. And the dog is going to come back and chase you again. And you need to turn, and the dog is going to chase you again. And you're going to turn until you kind of got this little piece, until the dog's getting in close where you can kind of grab a hold of them or swoop them up. And so if your dog gets loose out of the yard, you leave the gate open, they run out through the door, try to remember SAR. Stop, get your dog's attention, and run the opposite direction. And that is how you are going to resolve catching your dog. However, understand that this is not something that you can do all the time. It's an emergency situation, and it'll only work maybe once or twice. And I can even speak to you from my own experience. When I had a foster dog that I had in the back of my SUV, and I was taking him to the vet to have a checkup done, and he was on leash in the back. And as I popped open the back of the SUV, he darted out. He was hauling. And so let me tell you what, first, the dog didn't know who I was because he was recently a recent foster. And so we didn't have a bond or a relationship. So I did SAR. I stopped because my initial reaction in panic was to start chasing him and calling his name. Instead, I stopped. I got his attention by making a funny noise. He turned, and when he turned, he started seeing me walk the other way. And as I did, I watched him over my shoulder, and I literally could see him look at me and then making a decision, should I continue to run? And he looked at me, and I stopped and turned, but kept walking backwards, and he made the decision to walk back to me. Let me tell you what, my heart stopped in that moment of losing a dog that was a new foster. And so I'm telling you, this technique works. But the reality is you cannot, again, do it every single time because it's not going to work every single time. You will, however, need to do training, and your training is going to be based on getting your dog to recall back, even in distraction. So if your dog gets out the door or your dog is out loose, you need to be able to train your dog how to come back to you. But in this particular case, I just wanted to share because this event happened, and I noticed again the dog's owner putting the dog into a panic, and it just made me think that, you know what, this might make a good video for somebody else whose dog gets out. And so the things that we don't want to do is scream at your dog to come to you, because nobody's going to come to you if you're hostile. 2, don't chase your dog. You need to stop. And 3, you need to get your dog's attention. However it is that you get your dog's attention, making a funny noise, whoop, whoop, whoop. And then fourth, you need to get your dog to run and chase you. You need to run the opposite direction. So try and remember SAR, stop, attention, run. And so, anyways, I just wanted to give you a little tip on that. I hope you're all having a great day, and give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll keep you updated on any new videos coming up. Thanks. Bye bye now.